If anybody asks what is the difference between Ampmodu heavy duty connectors and normal connectors, we can always say that Ampmodu specializes in signal applications, whereas heavy duty connectors, they carry out power, signal and data, and the connectors, they carry out power and signal. Anybody asking for a specific signal application connector, we would always refer to Ampmodu connectors. You can see that the target markets are the automobiles, factory, aircraft, hospital, then we have the office, the power plant, anywhere where you want the signals, where there is a need of the signal extensively, that is where Ampmodu connector are used. Let's talk about the applications. We know that servers, they require signals. Medical equipment, here also signals, transmission of signal carries a very important factor. That is why Ampmodu connectors are used here. Then we have the storage equipment. There are some storage places or warehouse wherein everything, if the inventory is less, it gives an alarm or it gives a notification to the storage manager. So that requires signal. So that is why Ampmodu is also used in the storage equipment. Metering is nothing but what I can say about metering is, when you want in the textile industry, this instrument is used to measure out clothes, pieces of clothes and all. That is known as metering, and this is also an application where signals profoundly used. That is why we use the Ampmodu connectors. Then we have the test measurement, like various handheld devices which have the capability of testing any equipments which are able to determine the height and the distance. Sometimes it is used in the road construction factories. You would find a person carrying a laser light or a equipment which would have a laser light to give the exact distance. In those kind of applications, we would use the Ampmodu. Then we have factory automation, security systems, HVAC, scales and weighing, and inverters. So if you see HVAC and factory automation and security systems, all the three kinds of connectors are used. The normal ones, the heavy duty ones, and we also use the Ampmodu ones because it also has a signal specific application as well. The Ampmodus are used in inverters and scales and weighing. These are the examples of applications in which the Ampmodu product family is used. Moving on to the introduction of Ampmodu. Now Ampmodu is nothing but it's a series of interconnects that addresses the core needs of connection requirements. Interconnect is nothing but, you can call it in layman language as connection, wherein Ampmodu is a family of connector that addresses or that mitigates the core of the interconnect requirements. We have it in different styles. We have a wire to wire, wire to board, and board to board. For the headers, if you see the right hand side pictures, the headers, the first two ones, the printed circuit board mounted. So this is like the PCB mounted in the, you can find this kind of headers in a motherboard as well, a computer motherboard as well. You'll find this kind of headers. It can also be segregated into single row. If you see the first picture on the bottom left, that's known as the single row, which looks like a comb, and the one just next to it, that's known as double row. That means single set of pins, single row set of pins, and then double row set of pins. Now then we have the shrouded and the unshrouded headers. Shrouded headers, if you see here the second example, shrouded and unshrouded headers. Then we have the through hole and the surface mount. These are nothing but how the connectors are attached, the type of layering. So it is a through hole or a surface mount. Surface mount is also known as SMT. Then we have the vertical ones and we do have the horizontal ones. We do have high temperature versions which can withstand high temperatures, and we do have different plating materials like the tin and the gold. And for the wire connectors, that's the second half of the image where you have the wire connectors. We have discrete wire, single wire at a time. Then the first two images are the discrete wires, like the single wire at a time, and the next ones we have the flat cable or the FFC. FFC is known as flat flexible cable or the ribbon cable. We have flat and the ribbon. The orange one is the ribbon one and the first one is the flat flexible cable. Now let's talk about the features and benefits. As I said, AMP module is specialized in carrying signal. So they are used for carrying signal and low power up to 5 amps in cable to board and some cable to cable applications. So you can say cable is nothing but wire, you can say, so wire to board or wire to wire applications. They can carry signal and a power up to 5 amps. Let's talk about a little bit more features of the AMP module. You see the center line spacing. It is from 0.050 to 0.157. That's the inch of the center line spacing. For the configurations, we have the free hanging type, the panel mount options, the snap pin and the mounting gears. So if you see here in this image, see to the bottom of the page, you have the mounting gears, the panel mount. This is known as the PCB mount, or these are fixed to the print circuit board. And we also do have the free hanging. We have the polarizing and the latching options. If you see the front picture, the top picture, we have the polarizing and the latching. Latching is nothing but, it's kind of like a, it's a latch, or you can compare it to the side key triple mate connector. A side key is nothing but it helps in making the connection secure. It helps in that audible latch. When you have the audible sound of the connector, they mate each other perfectly once you hear the audible latch or the audible click sound. So what does the latching option do is, it helps in mating the connectors in proper orientation, and the latch locks the connectors together. How is this important? How is this latching option important is, sometimes once you try to insert the plug into the cap and you want to connect it, if you apply force at the wrong area, the pins might get damaged. That is where this option of latching comes into place. Okay, so if you try to use force while connecting the plug and the cap housing, if it is not in the proper orientation, it will not allow you to it will not allow the plug and the cap housing to mate properly. Okay, because of this latch, it will force you to make the proper orientation, and once it is connected, you can hear the audible click sound. Till you have not heard the audible click sound, it is meant that it has not been connected properly. For the contacts, we do have the cantilever beam design receptacle. Then we have the insulation displacement contacts, which is known as the ISC. Now what does it do? Insulation displacement contacts, if you see that image, your bottom left hand, what does it do? It cuts through the insulation of the conductor to make contact with the wire. So what does it eliminate? The IDC, the insulation displacement contacts. If you are using the IDC, there is no need to strip the wire and crimp the contact. It eliminates the extra cost as well. So when you are producing in bulk, when you have volume requirements, it lowers down the cost. You do not have to again crimp it and then strip it and then get it in contact. When you are using the IDC for volume requirements, it lessens the cost, it reduces the time as well. Now we do also have the higher pressure contact options for higher mating forces. Okay, but the most important thing that we need to find out about the AMP module is the IDC contacts. We are going to go into the functionality matrix. It's very important that you select the connection. We have to select the right AMP module product based on the type of connection that we have. Now if you see, on the left hand side we have the product range, like the 50/50 grid, the center line, the board to board, wire to board discrete wire to board flat cable, wire to wire discrete, and wire to wire flat cable. How do we read this table? I want a board to board. My center lining is 1.27 and I also want a wire to board flat cable. So what is the product range? The 50/50 grid meets the requirement. Let me give another example. I want a wire to wire. My center lining is 2.54. So we need to give mod 2 and MTE as an option. I want a wire to board discrete wire with a 2.00 center line. Which option should I give? Right, it is actually 2 mm. Yeah, that is how we read this table of the functionality matrix. Let's go to the next one, which has the mod 4 and 5 connector system features. The center line spacing is 2.54 mm pitch spacing. The configurations, we have the single row, the double row vertical. So if you see the first line of image, we have the single row horizontal, double row vertical, then the single row vertical, then the double row vertical SMT. Then we do have the double row horizontal as well. Now if you see here, the contact keying plug, housing keying plug, and then we have the strain relief tabs. Now what is a function of a strain relief tab? It reduces the strain on the wire. Now if we use this, then it gives an additional support, so the strain gets released, or there is a less strain on the wire. So again, the keying plugs, the strain relief tabs, they are all accessories. The contacts also are in the cantilever beam design receptacle. That's a design of the receptacle, and we have 3 pressure contact points. This is about the system features of the mod 4 and 5 connector systems. Okay, now next we're going to talk about the MTE. Center line spacing, pitch 0.100, that's the 2.54 mm. So this actually, in one board, it has all the different kinds of configurations. So we have the vertical header. If you see it, it's the vertical header. Then we have the vertical shrouded header, that's on the left. So what is the difference between the vertical header and the shrouded header? If you see here, the layout is a little bit different and the pins are different as well. Now on top of that, we have the double row coupling shroud, the receptacle assembly with the guide ribs. Guide ribs are nothing but this, wherein you can put another connector. Then we do have the receptacle assembly with the guide ribs. Now this is the vertical way of arrangement and this is the horizontal way of arrangement. Then we have the right angle header single row. This is the right angle. And then we have the receptacle assembly plane as well. This is just a plain receptacle assembly. Let's take a look at the Ampmodu chart. These are the level of applications, the basic circle element connection. So we have, how do we read this chart as? We have from PCB to PCB, we have 2 options. We can give Ampmodu mod 4 or we can give Ampmodu mod 2. Then under mod 4 housings, we can give standard pressure contacts, intermediate pressure contacts, high pressure contacts, and standard tandem spring contacts. These are for the mod 4 housings. Now for the IDC wire to PCB, we have the level 5, MTE and MT. These are the series of the Ampmodu connectors that we can offer. Now for level 6, from IDC system to system, shielded Ampmodu MT series is what we are going to recommend. Now we're going to talk about a little bit more on the 50/50 grid connector system. Now what is the advantages of 50/50 grid connector systems? We have different stack heights. It is nothing but just the orientation. If you see the stack height on the second image, the height between the 2 boards is known as the stack height. Moving on to the next, we do have the available configurations of the system 50. Okay, let me just zoom into this image. See here, this is the single row, this is the double row. This image is a self-explanatory, or it's a very detailed image of the Ampmodu connector systems. Now if you see here, this is the, let's take this as the PCB or the motherboard, wherein different Ampmodu connectors are used. We have the single row vertical board mount receptacle, then we have the double row vertical surface mount header. All the available possible types of system 50 connector systems have been shown here. I would request everybody to take a look at the diagram when they have time, and try to see how come all the connectors are there in the available configuration on system 50 connector system. Now we studied about the 50-50, the system 50. Now we're going to talk about the MTE connector. These are the MTE connectors. Now MTE has a IDC or crimp terminated. So it can either be, you can either install the IDC, or you can either crimp terminate the wire. Now it has the range of contact plating finishes. That's one of the advantages of MTE. It also has choice of polarization options. These are some of the features of the Ampmodu MTE connector system. A little bit more into the technicalities. The Ampmodu 0.025 or 0.064 square. The overview is that if you see this diagram on the right hand side, you have the insulation support barrel, wire crimp barrel, rugged self-supporting one-piece contact body. Then the wire enters from the rugged self-supporting one-piece to the receptacle misalignment. What it does is, when you insert the wire from the receptacle misalignment, it goes ahead and sits near the insulation support barrel. You can either crimp it, or you can use the IDC to perform the level of tasks you want. Now see, this is kind of like a potential application selection chart. So we have the Ampmodu, which is 0.25, 0.65 square. Then if you see the customer's requirement, that's the customer's requirement. If they want a wire-to-wire application, our potential solution will be mod 4 receptacle contacts and pins. If the customer has a PCB polarization, then we can give the option of MTE header with PC board or orientation peg. So on the left hand side you have the customer requirement. On the right hand side we do have a potential solution. Going back to some more, the application solution chart. If the problem of the TE of the customer is that it is the headers float off board shouldering operation, then our potential solution would be headers which are like retained features, unshrouded and shrouded. We can give any of these 4 connector systems for that kind of a problem or concern raised by the customer. If the customer has another query of reduction in parallel board to board stack height necessary, then we can go into the mod 4 low profile, go into receptacles, top entry. This is kind of like telling you where to research. Okay, next, moving on, we have the Ampmodu interconnection system as well. It has a single row latching receptacle to right angle latching header. It has a vertical single row receptacle to be vertical pin field, and show a single row receptacle to right angle pin field. So let's take a look at the right angle one. Okay, if you see here, see this part 5-103961-9. What is its use? It can be what you can say, right angle mounted onto your PCB. It has a shrouded header, polarized and latching. These are some of the features of the right angle. We're going to talk about resources, where to find, that's the catalog, and also on the team side. With that, we come to an end of the AMP module product information introduction.